Hi, this is already the third video on my channel about LED optics. Specifically, now we will talk about diode lamps for high beam headlights, namely Dawnknight K5C, although the box says Dr. LED, it's unclear. Now we're going to figure it out. To start with, if you haven't seen my other videos on this topic, all the links are in the description. Go ahead, take a look. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. The second very important point that cannot be overlooked is that these bulbs, specifically LED ones in reflector headlights, are prohibited, so I can't recommend them to you by default. And that's all I'm going to tell you. No more than an experiment. After all, breaking the law is bad. One more caveat. Today, I'm going to talk not only about the high beam LED bulb, but also about my overall experience with LED bulbs. In fog lights, low beams, and high beams. Next, what kind of bulbs did I buy? And what's this confusion with the manufacturer? Look, I ordered from Ozone. I bought the Dawnknight K5C at 55 watts with an HP3 socket. But the same bulbs arrived, just in a different box and from another brand. Well, basically these are all the same K5C, absolutely identical. How would I know? Check out this video. I had already bought the K5C, but in 40 watts. So these are really the same bulbs, the same weight, the same materials. Even Dr. LED himself isn't shy about pointing this out on the boxes. So, if anyone wanted to buy such lamps from this manufacturer, but had doubts, don't doubt. The quality is good, everything is fine with them. I bought it for 4300 Kelvin, so there is no cold blue color here. For me, 4300 is a plus, not a minus. Plus, in rain or fog, the 4300 also outperforms the whiter, cooler color. But that's a topic for a separate video. Today it's not about that. Before this, I bought the K5C bulb at 40 watts for the low beams, and for the K5C, that's the maximum that makes sense to put in the reflector. You shouldn't install these 55 watt ones in the low beam reflector. I'll explain why. First, they don't deliver the claimed 55 watts at least for a long time. If it's not critical for the high beams, you turn them on, drive for let's say a minute if not less, and then turn them off. The bulbs have cooled down, you turn them on again, and they again deliver maximum output for a short period of time, or something close to that. But as they heat up, they reduce their power. So, 55 watts in the high beams at least makes sense. In the low beams, well, not really. Because as they heat up, they deliver significantly less than 55 watts, let's say closer to 40, and they heat up more than 40 watts. And I think it's unnecessary to explain that the more they heat up, the shorter their lifespan will be. The second reason why you shouldn't install the K5C at 55 watts in the low beams is the STG. It's not perfect. Yes, it is even at 40 watts. It's not perfect, but it's better. And you know where it's even better? If we're talking about downlights, then it's the K5C Mini. In them, the STG is really very close to being good. And the second point is that there are smaller diodes in there, which heat up less and provide a little less light than, say, the version at 40 watts. But this difference is really small. You probably won't even notice it. But you'll notice right away that the STG is really smooth. So, it's a reasonable compromise. It's specifically the K5C Mini. Alright, everything I just said applies to the low beam. What about the high beam? I had these halogen bulbs installed. The light seems pretty good. But with one caveat, after installing the LEDs in the low beam headlights, the high beam, even if it's good, essentially stops existing. It's really hard to see it. It turns out that the near one shines underneath itself, but brightly. And the halogen, high beam seems to be far away, but it is very, very dim. You can't see anything. After the LEDs, it doesn't shine very brightly. In short, it feels uncomfortable. I'm saying this because if there's suddenly an adult traffic rule violator, then it needs to be changed. Both the low and high beams, just replacing the low beam, that's a bad idea. It will be uncomfortable. As for the K5C at 55 watts for the high beam, to be honest, they shine excellently. Bright, powerful, far-reaching, just a spotlight. And the only complaint I have about them is probably the excessive brightness. The road is visible perfectly, and the markings are great, but if there are a lot of road signs, in areas where they're really packed, they reflect a lot. So, if I were to buy it now, I would probably go for 40 watts instead of 55. 55 isn't a disaster, not at all. But if you think you can take, what about there? Even 70 watts, I would probably talk you out of it. Just because why? There's already a huge amount of light, even too much. In my opinion, it's not worth chasing after power in this situation. That's silly. And in the video you're currently watching, there's only one high beam light, which is LED. The second one is a regular halogen, but against the background of the LED, you can't really see it anymore, for one thing. And secondly, the light output is so powerful that even one bulb is more than enough. And I'm sure that if I hadn't told you this right now, you wouldn't have understood. There's only one bulb installed here, because there's just a lot of light. So, let's draw a conclusion based on my personal experience. First of all, as I said, it's illegal, it's bad, period. Secondly, if we're not talking about high beams, good LEDs don't necessarily need to be powerful. Other lamps are enough too, so good lamps properly adjusted. No one will be blinded, and you can argue about this a lot. This is like the debate over which oil is better to use, which engine is better, whether diesel or gasoline, and so on. But the fact is, it's illegal. It's really strange that it's completely legal to drive like this. Like with these headlights, for example. And this isn't even the worst option. There are ones that are much worse. This kind of thing, especially with powerful bulbs inside, can really blind you quite a bit. There's no STG at all, so are you really sure that the problem is with the LEDs? A rhetorical question. So, to sum up, taking into account the illegality of LEDs in reflectors, LED lights shine excellently. And STG, they have a normal, not perfect, but one that doesn't bother others. It all depends on the model of the bulbs and the specific car. The high beams are great, and the fog lights, they're great. They really help, for example, in snowfall or, actually, in fog. So, in terms of characteristics, diodes in a reflector are a completely excellent solution. But, I'll say it for the 15th time, it's illegal. So I won't recommend them to you, and that's all I have for today. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye everyone.